would you be able to introduce yourself and what role you play in the band?
Where do you want me to look?
Me.
Okay, just at you? Just
Yeah.
all right, informal casual. Sorry. Okay. Hi, I'm Charlie. I'm the screamy front person of Cometh. I play audience interaction. Like the audience customer service ambassador for the band. If you want to like prompt me on stuff, I can tell you what I'm doing or whatever as well. Walk you through my process too, to see how the magic happens or whatever. God damn it. The bathroom's an absolute mess, but that's fair. Oh shit. Okay, normally I start with like a setting powder. I don't think I need it because I don't think I'm going to be jumping around sweating too much today. So we're going to do like the quick and dirty version of the makeup. So, you always start with the white because it's easier to go over than the black. Get a nice coat. Should probably tell you this is Diamond Effects makeup. Mm-hmm. We did a lot of shopping online and found out this is the #1 face paint recommended by clowns everywhere. So, works really well for corpse paint as well. I made it a little too wet.
That's what you usually do before shows?
Oh yeah. Yeah, usually I like before our set I'll just like very sneakily just disappear into a bathroom somewhere. Or actually the weirdest one I ever did was ironically for the other interview we did, it was out at a farm. So I ended up doing, and they didn't have a bathroom, it was just an outhouse, so I tried to do the makeup in the reflection of the window of the car. And luckily I don't think they had like the 4K fancy cameras you guys do, because it wasn't my best work, I'll tell you that. So usually if you really want like full coverage, you let it dry for a sec and then you go at it again. If you get it like really loaded the first time though, you don't really have to do that. Especially live because it just sweats all off anyway. But you know, the grungier it looks by the end of the night, kind of the better, right? Gets a little more metal. Now I started doing this like addition part just because it felt weird to, like the whole bottom half of my face is black usually. And that feels really weird to fade it out here. So I started doing a little more fancy stuff here. Well, that dries and I get the black out. This one? No. I have many backups of this. This is the bag we take to all the shows, so it's a little beaten up. Theoretically, I should have a like much more professional, fancy-looking way to tote all our stuff. But I don't. Got a backpack full of face paint. See if I can make some nice lines here. It's already not working very well, but. Try to at least get like semi-crisp, somewhat symmetrical in here. It doesn't usually work that way, but that's what we try to do. And it's still wet, so it's running a little bit. I kind of dig how that looks though. You see the little spider bites, spider veins and stuff? It's kind of fun. Those are two wildly different things, because overall in the industry, I mean, actually no, they're not too wildly different, because, I mean, we're here, we're in it, we're in the local scene, we're in the wider scene. I don't know if there's necessarily, like, representation. I think it's more like, especially on the local level, we're kind of just out here doing our own thing. It's not necessarily like, and now a queer artist necessarily. It's like, it's the band. My take on it is very securitist, because I've been looking into this. I have a vested interest and a slight bias about the history of non-binary and gender identities and stuff. So if you look into it, in ancient Mesopotamia and Sumer and stuff, and ancient cultures all over the world, there's roles for genderqueer people essentially as mouthpieces of the gods and the keepers of magic and stuff. So that's kind of what It Cometh is about. So that's kind of what I like to bring to the table, is that magic and that gravitas kind of shit. So yeah, that's doesn't seem like it's a queer thing, but it's very much a queer thing. So the first several, we were just wearing the Spirit Halloween stuff, and it was a little janky. It was a little jankier than this, I'll tell you. But then after that, we were kind of just committed to the bit. We'd been doing it for 5 shows by that point. It's well, I guess this is what we're like. And yeah. Alright. There's our buddy Bandit. Hey. The hardest part that I usually forget is the weird little teeth underneath. This part doesn't always turn out very well. But that's okay, because I usually shove a mic in my face and they're all fucked up anyway. Well, overall, I'm a huge fan of Judas Priest. Before I even knew anything about Rob Halford and stuff, that's just what I aspire to vocally. It's very powerful. He's kind of an inspiration because, it's hard to be in a subculture and be queer. It's a weird intersection to kind of inhabit. But, locally, my buddy Earl. Earl's cool. Earl's the coolest and the greatest and super organized, and I aspire to be more like Earl in my day-to-day life. I mean, I've never gotten any sort of outright hatred or anything. It's kind of weird because I get misgendered constantly. People don't know both ways actually. I come here and I get called he a lot, which is even weirder somehow. Which I don't mind that one nearly as much, but yeah, it's more I think people are just kind of unaware unless they follow me on social media, so and I also don't think people really give a shit, because I mean, we're all hammered and we're all here for a good time, so whatever. I think it's more people, there's so many other hurdles for people to get over, the face paint, before it's wait a minute. So well, I'd really in a perfect world, if, I think there was a question about this as well, but it seems to be whenever anybody comes out, it's framed as for media leverage or for a story or something, or it's a thing to kind of politicize, and I think that's kind of rude. I really kind of wish it was treated more it's just a thing, just in passing, oh, do you know this person's queer? Yeah, alright, cool. But, like, I understand, like, we do definitely need to, like, have people, like, openly and blatantly saying, like, this is my identity and we exist and this is I'm an example of it, so that, you know, people can't just be like, oh, this is a new thing and I've never seen it before. Like, you know, being familiarized and normalized is important. Sorry, my hair's bothering me here. But, where was I? Yeah, I had an important point there. But yeah, I think it's important that people come out, but I think it's just kind of sensationalized and used kind of for like media gain in a lot of ways, and it's kind of framed like that by a lot of media sources. And yeah, that's kind of gross, so I'm not jazzed about, because then that perpetuates the it's just a fad kind of thing, and I think that's kind of damaging ultimately for like people, you know, trying to just like live their life and come out and just exist. Again, I don't follow the industry at large super hard, so like the opposite of that is like I've had people come to me personally and be like, you know, I saw you and I know that you're non-binary and I'm also non-binary, but I was like scared to come out of the closet, and then I saw you on stage and you're like cool. I'm like, you must have been seeing someone else. But some other cool non-binary person, because I'm a loser. But yeah, like it's I see that it's like really apparent in my interactions with people like that it's like it means something and it helps other people like feel good about themselves, seeing themselves represented, right? So I know I definitely, like, if I see someone like me, it kind of makes me feel a little bit more normal, so a little bit better about myself. So I try to be that for people, but I don't know. This kind of detracts from it a little bit, but yeah.
It's like even if like did shows like every week or like in several bands and did face paint for all of them, I think I'd probably be set forever. You know. Sorry.
And you guys all in the paint?
Oh yeah, no, all of us do it. Oh, how did I do that? I guess I looked down or something. Whoops. Again, like I try and keep it basic shapes just so I can do it pretty quickly. Because usually it's like you've got 10 minutes before we're supposed to be on stage, so like go. So I wanted to keep it really simple. And then also like the other guys are not super great at makeup, so they usually need a bit of help. So yeah, try to keep it all basic shapes so like I could run around and do everybody's makeup if I have to. We used to have a little more complicated on a few of us, and I kind of like put the kibosh on that because it was just like too much stress right before a show. Is also I have to draw like perfect Eye of Horus and shit on a person, you know, like just freehand like this. It was a little bit stressful, so luckily everybody's on board with just like simple's better. Simple's very doable and repeatable. And I don't usually do the back because there's like a coat. And usually I do the ears. I think I'll do the ears. I don't like doing them very much though because I end up with face paint in my ears for like days after.
How are you gonna remove it?
Hmm?
How are you removing after?
Usually I just kind of go home and have a shower.
Mm-hmm.
Or 5, because but yeah, I kind of just am committed to it's going to be behind my ears and in my eyebrows for days after every show. This is just what I'm committed to at this point. But you know, we want to give the kids a good show. Try and that's the one thing I do to like every bathroom and every bar is I feel really bad to just like leave and it's covered in black crap and like it's a little creepy.
I was trying to think of something. I don't see a lot of like songs about being non-binary out there that I'm like really jazzed about, because I listen to a lot of 80s metal. But so closest I could come up with like seriously is like Rainbow in the Dark by Dio. But there is a song I was thinking of that I kind of vibe with. It's by a band called The Replacements, and it's just called Androgynous. And it's not quite the same vibe, but it's definitely, there's a couple lines that really hit me in that song. I definitely, in a lot of cases, like when Madonna kissed a bunch of girls on stage, that felt gimmicky for the, like, yeah, no, that definitely felt gimmicky. That was, I'm showing my whole old wrinkly ass there. I think that was in like 2001. But yeah, when people pull shit like that, or like it's, you know, they come out and it's like a huge sensational thing and then they just kind of retract it, it kind of gives that vibe. Like, so it definitely, I don't know if it's necessarily like individuals doing it though. I think it's more like media outlets and maybe labels trying to like push a narrative of like, oh, this is trendy, so. It really depends, because like you can find whatever the fuck you want out there on the internet these days, because I definitely find like queer media made by queer people for queer people, and that's fine, that's great, but you really have to like dig for that. Like you have to really want it. I think this is pertaining more to like mainstream stuff, and it's gotten better over the years, I find, like in that, you know, we do exist in media now, sort of. It still feels really sterilized and strange the way that the community's portrayed, but it's definitely a good first step that we're there a bit. So, I hesitate to call myself an influencer, because I'm kind of just very much on a local level. Like, I'm in a basement, this is like my favorite venue. Shout out to Infinity Zero. But yeah, no, I basically like, it's kind of extension of like what I want to do. Like, I try and like be a good influence on people just across the board and be the best person I can be. And like, I understand that a big part of me being visible in my music is also being visibly queer on stage. So like, I'm very cognizant of that, and I do hope that it helps people. And like, again, it's about like representation, and I think like hopefully, like I've been told like by a couple friends that it does help them, and it does like, where was it going? I lost my train of thought again. Yeah, no, I've totally lost it. Goddamn. Yeah, I'm just hung up on like trying to tiptoe around like, I'm an influencer, because that feels weird. But yeah, I just try and like show up and be a queer person in the spotlight, and like hopefully that kind of normalizes it for people. It's really all I can do, right? So that's what I try to do. What do I tell the baby queers in the closet? Oh, let's see. I was talking to somebody, like one of the friends I keep talking about just came out like this year, so what have I been talking about? Let's see, good. I don't know, I'm a terrible influence like this, so try and counteract that. What would I tell them? Like, I'm trying to think of something like even remotely inspiring or what would I want to hear, honestly? I mean, just like, don't listen to people, don't listen to like the fearful voices in your head, and like be you. And like sometimes that sucks and it's hard, and it would be easier to just not be you. But in the long run, it's not. So, yeah, just be you, do you. Everyone else can go fuck themselves. Does that work? Oh, boy howdy. Alright, well, the band, our bassist formed the band because he wanted to jam, so it was originally him and a drummer back in, like, 2015. It's definitely, like, metamorphosized quite a bit since then. Where should I be looking? At you, or...? Okay, I'll just pretend you asked the question then. What was it again? I'm so sorry. It's the neurospicy, it's kicking in. But, yeah, so it started out with just, like, our bassist and a drummer jamming. The reason, like, the way I got into the band is I applied to an ad at the music store that I was working at the time. It was clean vocals is what they wanted, they said. Yeah, so that was basically how it formed, and then it kind of just like organically, bits and pieces have changed over time, and we've kind of tweaked things here and there, and like tried out different members and stuff, and ultimately, yeah, like it basically all started with our bassist wanted to start a band and kind of just willed it into existence. Oh, totally. I'd love to get some, I want Shaun to be rewarded for letting us use his spot. Just plug the place. What do you want to know about,
Anything you know about it?
Okay, well, welcome to Infinity Zero. It's Barry's up-and-coming basement. Basically, it started because after COVID, basically all of the downtown core was shut down, and there was no more venues left. So while society was picking up the pieces, they decided we're gonna start doing punk shows when it was safe. I just want you to. I'm so sorry. That's why I was trying to look around, because I definitely know a good chunk of these people that have played here. I'm just trying to see, like, these are all from shows. Pretty sure that's Hysterics. That's the Black Void, but that says it on it. I was at that show. That was the 420 show, and it was wicked. Yeah, I don't know if I have any, like, other, like, it's a pretty new venue. It's basically, like, it survives on, like, donations and just the goodness of punks in the area. Yeah, like I was telling you guys, like, touring bands come through here. It's, like, it's, like, almost a best-kept secret locally, but it's not that big a secret. You let it dry and then just kind of... I've been told that's effectively hairspray by people who know real makeup. Anyway, yeah, we're good to go. Oh god. Okay, I'll go with like the band shit. Hail Balsamus and Death and Darkness.